look, man, you did a really bad job of it. I'm gonna be straight up, and like,
Yup.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
Presenting the short bus veteran. Welcome to the channel, guys. As you can see, I'm talking about Actman, who just was on an appearance of this guy named Andypants Gaming. I know nothing about this guy, and I know some about the Actman. I've made a video about him previously. You can check that out. And I was recently going to make a video kind of talking about what they talk about, and I was like, hey, let me just kind of merge the two ideas together. So here we go. For those who have clicked on this, yes, it is a very clickbaity thumbnail to kind of spoil how this goes. The Actman looks good from this video, and this Andypants guy does not look good. But we can get to talk about more about what woke is, and some of the let's get into the details of the tactics that go behind it, and kind of talk a little bit about where woke came from. Because yes, I said later, Actman mentions how it's like the boy who cried wolf of words, and yeah, it is overused. And worst of all, unlike how racist is overused, it like most of the people who use woke, majority of people don't even know what the hell woke really means. They have like a vague idea of it, and it is a word that does capture what's going on very well. So even if you do know what it means and you're using it properly, it's not the best word to be used to translate stuff, but it also does communicate what you're trying to say very well. It just, the people receiving it, it's a buzzword, right? It's a buzzword, which kind of sucks. Wish we, I guess, had a better word to describe it, but we can get into that. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be going over a few clips of this debate that happened last night to kind of springboard some of the ideas of what they talk about. Essentially, what started this discussion with the Actman and Andypants is Andypants Gaming, I guess, has been making a string of anti-woke videos, and in his most recent one, he said that he had used Actman as the main person. There was a few other YouTubers, and talked about how they are woke and to not listen to them because they are snakes. And I do think that Actman has done some stuff, particularly the thing that I mentioned, that has been super shady and very snake-like behavior, especially when it came to the As incident.
So I thought this was one interesting tweet. You said,
yeah,
so
I mean, we can start off with this stuff, by the way. Like,
dude,
I'm down to freeform.
Dude, I'm just going right into it, and feel free to ask me a question.
Now, I think right here, Andypants brings up a good piece of evidence, and this is kind of continuing on from here. Is kind of the theme of what goes on in this whole debate. He fails to provide receipts in his arguments, making them completely fail. If you're going to argue what Andy is trying to argue, you're going to need a collection of evidence in order to prove your point. You're not going to, one little thing is not going to be able to prove your point.
Are you talking about Nexus Mod's double standard?
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, they're an independent company, aren't they? So they're allowed to do what they want. Of course, there might be a double standard there.
So this independent company argument always gets brought up a lot, especially when we're coming to this, especially when these discussions happen. And I feel like this is kind of important because independent company, but they have shareholders and they are being regulated and told what to do. We can see that these companies are pressured to push political agendas towards one side and not the other. I feel like, though, because it's an independent company, that this is just independently their decision. I think what we find through collective evidence is that it doesn't feel like it's just an independence choice. I feel it feels like it's pressure from DEI companies. You know, like we've seen with Sweet Baby Inc. is probably the best case, and I'm gonna have to play it at some point. But there's that really popular clip that was going around of that person from, I believe it was Sweet Baby Inc., that said that, he basically was giving an instruction manual on how to pressure companies Bethesda or whatever to reinforce and throw DAI nonsense into your media, or else there's going to be consequences, right? Like, basically, an instruction manual to how to pressure companies.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
And that pressuring is really where we have an issue with. We don't want, this bullying of ideology shoved into our media, which in this case would be ran by the big companies. We want these companies to pander to the audience, not pander to an ideology that is very political, yes. And as we're going to see, this Andy guy's fucking retarded.
Does the fence ever hurt? Do the splinters ever hurt from sitting on the fence so much, bud?
Oh, so is this the route you want to go down?
This is the route I want to go down. Let's go.
This is a completely stupid, asinine tactic. Typically, you shouldn't really be insulting somebody who comes on to a discussion with you in good faith, especially if they haven't, in the current discussion, presented acts of, in this case, fence sitting. Wait till he does something in this discussion, or maybe evidence is brought up that he's fence sitting. You can't just make this statement and then just assume that everybody watching knows the context. No, you have to provide the context if that is such. And I don't even know if I believe that the Actman is a fence sitter. Maybe he is, maybe it is, and I don't like some things he does. But, he has made good videos in the past. But it is what it is. Is that fence sitting? I don't know. Provide context.
Just unload the ammo on me. Dude, I'm ready.
Are you sure about this, man? Because I don't think you're cut out for this. I don't think you know how this game is played.
Sweetie, I am. I'm so cut out for it.
Then why have me on when you have done such a terrible job of...
This is particularly funny because the Actman is completely right in this prediction. And it's even funny because we saw that the Andy guy had notes, and so he prepped for this. He prepped to have this discussion, and which is good. You should prep, but he prepped very poorly. I don't know if there's more evidence on the document that he never went to, but this was not a good look on this guy. Interesting. As I came back to recording, I noticed that it says that the comment. I already noticed that the comments was turned off by Andy, making fun of Actman, but it's not a good look turning the comments off, dude. Just take the bad comments. But notice, age-restricted video. That's what I came back to. It said requested by uploader. Is he age-restricting this so less people will see that? Because the age-restricted videos don't hit the algorithm. Dude, this is such an L, dude. Come on, man.
And do you agree that there has been a steep decline in masculinity in video games since that era of like 06, 07? Like, I know you love that era of games. Do you agree there has been a steep decline in masculinity since then in games?
Steep decline? I mean, there's obviously still...
This is a point that I would kind of agree with, that there has been a decline. But all Andy does is mention this, is like, have you noticed this? And then doesn't bring up any real references. Now, they do discuss a few points. I'll play the clip of some instances. But, again, you have to provide receipts.
How do you quantify masculinity? I mean, like, the Doom games, like 2016, Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Ages coming out. We just had Space Marine 2. That's pretty fucking masculine. I mean, Leon Kennedy, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Really, I don't think this masculinity point is really good. I have noticed it, but even with the things I have noticed it in, it's not a very sharp point. We have Space Marines 2 that just came out, and yeah, the Warhammer universe is a little bit masculine, if you ever notice. But then there's nuance in that, like with the creators of Warhammer, like they're kind of as greedy as they are, they're pretty much shielding a lot of the, I guess you would say, demasculating stuff. Whereas in there's people really trying to force female Space Marines in there, and they're not like kind of allowing that. So the company behind Warhammer is kind of preventing some of that, right? So this is a special case, and this takes nuance. So it's like, yeah, don't make this point. It's not a strong point. Not only that, like, they do mention like Helldivers and some other games. It's like, yeah, these are AA games. They're not getting the same type of funding that I'll talk about later, which is the major influence in this stuff. So it's like, yeah, they're not as influenced by these this, you know, change in media that's been happening. And not only that, there is also the point that this year in particularly, there seems to be a change going on. The woke stuff seems to be finally coming to the end. Hopefully, we don't know. Disney is holding on strong, but it seems to be that there is changing, and so now people are going to be doing what the Act-Man does and say like, "Hey, what are you saying? I don't see it." It's like, well, yeah, because you kind of, you know, acted blind for the past 10 years when it was happening. I think what happened is like, you get these major corporations, you get BlackRock, right? And this is where, you know, it's said to be a conspiracy, but you get this company that funds this ideology, and they're the ones pushing these companies by giving them free money and saying, hey, if you meet whatever quota or this or that, we will give you money, because they care more about pushing an agenda rather than making money. And this is like, if you think about it, it's the same sort of concept with like Amazon when it comes to making money, right? Because these companies, they really, like some of these companies, big companies, they really care more about pushing a message rather than necessarily making money, because they're making plenty of money in other resources. And I bring up Amazon, like Amazon makes its money in their servers. They take a loss with most of their stuff. They're taking a loss with their video, especially right now. They take a loss with their shipping. That's why they can afford to make shipping so cheap for everyone, because they make all their money at their other resources, like their server farms and stuff. They're like massive amounts of money they're getting from this. So they're like, all right, cool. We're making money from there. Let's, you know, try to change culture in this other way.
Seems like everything now is either a remake. Like what new, very masculine character has come in a game recently?
I think the better point to pull up with this masculinity stuff is that, like, you know, we had the 80s where all the movies are big, huge, jacked men and high action, and people haven't really changed with what they want. They want that kind of stuff, right? Gears of War, yes, very masculine, but Space Marines, it's like jacked men firing giant guns. Like, this is everything that you know, what we say that the left wouldn't want, and it's like, it's selling like crazy. And then it's like, what are we like? What do they just figure it out right now in 2024? We just figured out that all these men want to buy a game with big, huge men in tank armor with giant guns fighting demons and stuff. Like, no, the recipe's been there. Everybody knows what the recipe is. Like, it's not like this big mystery of what to get people what they want. It's just they're not doing it, and then we have to look. Why are they not giving people what they want? And what Ackman mentions later is saying that it's, and this is where I think the big confusion comes in. He'll mention later where he thinks it's like they are trying to be greedy, that they think that selling to people in this DEI way is what's going to get them money, and they're just wrong. But it's like, no, they already know that the DEI stuff isn't going to work. They already have recipes that's worked before. And I'll get into it later. Sex sells. What happened to that? It's one of the first rules to, like, one of the primary rules of business. Sex sells. You ever wonder why all the bartenders are all big titty waitresses and the men can't make any money in there?
Has the check cleared for Payday 3?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, all right. Hit the bank account.
Yeah, sure did.
Okay.
It's great that someone is finally, like, you can finally confront me on that, man. Oh yeah, go for it.
This right here is a little bit upsetting because, and if you watch my previous video, I was upset with the Actman's kind of reaction with Payday 3, and this would have been a good opportunity to talk about it. And you know, maybe we can get a better answer of what's come from that, because his answer that he gave in his like roundup video of the year of mentioning it, what a lot of people feel like wasn't good enough. So let's talk about it. But of course, the way that this Andy guy approached the question was very hostile and fucking dumb. Like, dude, wait to like insult someone. You need to have reason to insult someone, or else you come off like a jackass. Yeah, I would ask the question about what's going on with that. I think we got a good enough reason why he made the initial video that he did, but the bigger question, the more important question is, why wasn't there a follow-up video talking about the mess it's become, especially after certifying it fresh, or how certifying, how does he certify this stuff? Certified awesome, some shit, I don't remember. Banger, certified banger. And he has a record of other games of doing a video that is an impression, and then, you know, once it releases and there's a terrible release, he will make a follow-up video. He didn't do that with Payday 3, and that's what I would like to ask him. Now it's like, well, what is he supposed to do now? Is the Act Man gonna, like, however long since the Payday 3 incident happened, supposed to make a video talking about it now? No, I don't expect that. The time's passed. But just, like, I think we just want an acknowledgement. And I think if that was brought up to the Act Man, I think I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here and say that he probably would be like, yeah, I wish I did make a follow-up video. Now it's too late. But, you know, lesson learned, I'm going to try to steer away from doing that again.
So you truly liked Black Ops 6? You truly liked the new Call of Duty game? Because that feels like we're waiting for the check to clear from Activision as well.
See, the funny thing is that parts of your audience don't know that you're joking.
No, I'm not joking, brother. I swear to God.
I hear you laughing. Like,
I'm laughing at the fact that I think you were.
I don't think you're an idiot, bro. If you're familiar with my content, you have a very good understanding of why Activision does not pay me or offer to pay me, nor would I accept offers for payment.
Talking about the weirdest point, and this goes into the video that Andy made originally talking about Actman being woke. It's this accusation that all of his videos are a paid shill, and it's like are evidence of him being a paid shill, and it's like the evidence is not there. To the defense of the Act Man, like, yes, he has made plenty of videos trashing video games that would not look good to these companies, and therefore make those companies not want to spend money on him.
I'm trying to piece a lot of these things together, like why.
And you're doing a really bad job of it.
Why you don't talk about woke stuff? Why there's certain rakes that you avoid stepping on, and I wonder if it's to be more palatable to your corporate handlers.
So the accusation that the Act Man doesn't talk about woke stuff. Now, this is an interesting thing, right? Because this is where everybody looks at what's been happening on, especially with games, but it's not just games, it's pretty much all media and all the DEI, woke, or whatever term you want to use, being forced into this stuff. And people like the Act Man not really connecting the dots. And it's annoying. But honestly, I don't really think that you have to necessarily connect those dots, really, right? I think it might hurt your bottom line. People are looking for good reviewers that can sniff that stuff out, maybe point it out, criticize it. But the thing is, there's a difference between not talking about it. You know, people will call you out for maybe being a little bit ignorant to the situation. The problem is when you get an as situation.
Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself.
Sorry, do you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what?
Fucking pronouns!
And you start calling him crazy and making a whole video and talking about how these people are retarded for pointing out something that is, to us, very apparent. And yeah, that ad situation is what got me like going, this is kind of nuts, right? Like, especially it was really unfair how he took a clip without the context of it being him like 8 hours plus or however long into the game before finally losing it, and he played it as if it was something that happened right at the beginning. He used the excuse of, I already got the video scheduled. Can't pull it right now before we have a conversation, because as and him are supposed to have a conversation. As retracted or Az decided not to have that conversation after he released the video before having the conversation to get context from Az, and Az is like, snake behavior. I don't feel like doing this conversation now, which I'm behind Az on that. That's where people like me have a problem with this whole situation. If you don't want to connect the dots, that's fine. Don't act like the rest of us are retarded.
I know these YouTubers talk about racism directed towards white people.
So why aren't game reviewers talking about the hate towards white people? I don't know, and maybe I'm ignorant on this, but I don't know if there's been really a case of straight up hating of white men. Maybe somebody could pull me a clip for him to comment on, right? So I don't really necessarily see a point. Of course, something literally happens the night as I'm recording this. And look, it'd be ignorant to say that similar stuff hasn't been said in the past. But I guess I need to reiterate the fact that Andy is not providing evidence. You can't just make these claims and then just assume that the act man is just going to provide the evidence for you, especially when you've already established that this is a kind of a hostile situation for the act man and yourself, of which you created.
GDC advisor Marina Diaz says, white men and gatekeeper.
Now, this would be different if you were somebody who were talking about the situation with literary agents for books and not talk about that whole messed up situation. If you go search up a literary agent for a book, you know, the thing you need before you can even talk to a publisher, and you look at what they want, they have a list of people that their preference, right? Their preference, which is basically every list of diversity. You know, are you a woman of color? Are you a woman? Are you a woman of color? Do you have disability? We want stories from trans people. All these lists are listing a bunch of different variety of people, but very specifically, might as well just say, straight white men need not apply. And that's messed up, and something we should care about, because that is a form of discrimination. We should care about when people are being discriminated on. Now, with the video game stuff, from what I've seen, it's mostly just the fact that they just so happen to be putting a lot more people of color in there, right? And that, gets a little bit conspiratorial. You could be like, okay, why are the white people missing? But that it's fine if there's more people of color. It gets to a bigger problem. And this guy doesn't bring up the situations where they just straight up like race swap people or like make that one Norse god like black. It was just silly. Those have their own problems, but it's not at the same level of something that he's kind of like Andy is kind of insinuating, where it's discrimination. That's a major problem. Different level of problems. Discrimination. Turning a white character into a black character. That's a problem of its own. That's a problem of its own, but it's not the same as discrimination.
Concord had 3 black females in it and not a single white man. Did you
3 too many, isn't it? No, I was more distracted by how unappealing all of the character designs were. Imagine, see, the thing about you...
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like the wrong thing to get hung up on with the Concord thing. Did DEI play a role in Concord sucking? Absolutely. Now, I watched the Actman's video on Concord after this, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good explanation of the other reasons that I believe that did play a part into Concord failing. The thing is, I believe that DEI did play a role in the fall of Concord. Do I think it's bad on Actman for not pointing this out? No. I think it's just funny that you didn't connect the dots of all these other games having ugly characters. Andy mentions uglification, which is definitely something that's been happening. And yeah, it's just a matter of connecting the dots, right? So you have this game that an abundance of money was spent on, $400 million. Where is this going, guys? Where is this money going on? Do they have these contracting out to these agencies to make sure that they're meeting a quota of diverse characters? Because you could just look at it, right? We have no physical proof that they're making these character designs on, a DEI representative or something like that. But the Actman brings it up later about Overwatch, and when they literally had that diversity scale.
You remember that Overwatch diversity chart that leaked?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, stuff that is tangible. I cover stuff like that. It's not like, oh, this female character doesn't have rockin' double D boobs. Wokeness? Woke? I don't make shit like that.
And it's like, dude, do you not think that other companies don't have that exact same diversity scale when they're judging this stuff? Do you not think that Concord did that? Come on, dude. And now he would retort that by saying, like, well, unless I actually have evidence, I'm not going to say that because it's just hearsay. That's fair. But a lot of people are frustrated that it's just we have case by case by case of these video games just doing DEI stuff. And it's very obvious when you have circumstantial evidence, that's not really enough to hold up in court. But when you have a collective amount of circumstantial evidence, starts to build a case. So it's one of these things where we have all these games in the past 10 years that like just overwhelming amount that have this DEI stuff that just have failed, and it's like, how are you not seeing this, dude? With this, and this is one of the problems we have, is that funding is going into these companies to make sure that they're meeting said quota, to make sure that it's diverse enough or whatever. That's money that should be going into the quality of game. And what we've found out, or what we are finding out too, is that like the cost of this, like I can only imagine how much Sweet Baby Inc. cost for you to like hire them to, you know, look into your game or whatever. It's probably an insane amount of money. Some will might never actually find out how much money they spend on it, but it's probably a percentage of the game, honestly. A lot of these people, as we see that all this stuff is happening, and it's affecting the quality of games. And that's why we get a little disappointed when the Actman doesn't talk about it. But it's even worse when he calls other people retarded for pointing out something that is very obvious.
I don't think it's strange. I think corporations do what thinks will make them money. And as you see with Concord, clearly didn't work out. Didn't work out. They didn't make money off of that. Do I think it's strange?
So this is a big one to point out, because this is where I kind of think the Actman's being genuine. I think he's wrong, though. And I have talked to a few friends that think the exact same way. They think that the entire cause of this is greed. He'll mention that ever since the BLM stuff, there's been a push for the DEI stuff in our media, and that's what the cause is that these corporations think that that's where the money is going to be, is that the fans want this stuff, and that it's not, and it's driven by greed and not driven by exterior motives of pushing propaganda, pushing an agenda. He doesn't believe that there's an agenda. He believes that it's greed. I know people that think this way too. I disagree. This is where like my original video that I was going to do, that Actman kind of talking, I figured I could tie these two ideas together. Sex sells, right? I mentioned that before. How did we forget that sex sells, right? did the BLM riots happen and they're like, oh, you know what? Kids just want diversity. They need to see themselves in whatever, and that's how we're going to sell stuff. We're going to push diversity, and we're going to sell units. Even though something as basic as sex sells has been going on for ever. Prostitution is the oldest profession ever, right? Something about that. Yep. No, we all just went retarded. And really, it's greed motivating us. Nothing else to do with that stuff. That's where it's just, we're like, how do you not see this? This is obviously not greed motivated. These companies are losing money. They think it's just greedy executives that are basically making dumb decisions based off stuff, that they're not making these decisions for immoral reasons to push an agenda. And that's where we disagree. And I think for that, it's like, really, I'd be curious if the Actman knew about the finer details of like how BlackRock is pushing this stuff. I wonder if he's seen the video of BlackRock talking about how they're going to be pushing this stuff more this year at whatever that convention was.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
It's not something we're trying to gaslight people into believing. It's true. These BlackRock and these other investment companies are 100% doing this to push an agenda. Now, I've also seen it too with my friends. You point out the whole evidence of Disney and all these other companies being given copious amounts of money for these agendas from BlackRock, and he'll just like ignore it. Now, the friends that I mentioned that kind of like share this opinion, I've provided the evidence, and they kind of just, they don't want, like, once they hear it and they just, you know, see you trying to show them receipts, they back off, and they just want to like ignore it, not even listen to it. If they don't have to listen to the truth, they don't have to know it. People find comfort in believing what they want to believe, and I think that's where the Act Man is. Like the first thing off of Google when you search this stuff, I got something from Investment Week. I don't know what the fuck that is, but yeah, it talks about how BlackRock, you know, the world's largest asset manager, has been joined in these LGBT efforts, and you know, confirms that they're pushing this money, right? I'm sure there's plenty of articles and plenty of this stuff.
So-called ESG, which I completely understand if you have no idea what that is and you could not care less. But it basically is this idea that corporations and banks and funds and whatever, rather than just focusing exclusively on shareholder value, they're also going to incorporate these goals of conscious capitalism and trying to do better on environmental, social, and governance goals.
Look, I think ESG is a cancer for a variety of the reasons that you just said. I do actually believe it is a cover for a lot of woke BS and virtue signaling, which is genuinely bad because it's also stuff that is implemented in your name, even if you're invested in funds or stuff that you have no idea about. This isn't just for rich people, although predominantly.
And yeah, that's where I'm like, is the Act Man just ignorant of this stuff? But then again, how are you not connecting the dots after all this stuff? And like you talk about the uglification, like the, what is it, the Fable girl, Fable 3 girl, the Star Wars game that just came out recently, and like it was mentioned, Concord. Like they're just, all these characters are ugly, and it's just like, there has to be a reason, right? It's not just these developers being lazy. Like there has to be a reason, right? Why would we not see big titty women anymore? Sex sells. It's because it's a part of this agenda. But the problem is like, that's part of the Marxist agenda of where we, you know, where this woke stuff comes from, is it's about destroying culture, like trying to destroy the U.S. culture, whatever culture, and uglifying stuff is a part of doing that. There's a whole method. I forget what the method is called, or whatever book it comes from, about basically destroying art by making just a copious amount of shitty art. It's where modern art comes from. It's like like it looks at it like, why is it so shitty? It's trying to take over with this stuff, right? You look at any modern artist, communists.
The BLM protests, riots, after all of that, that's when a hard push began, where corporations started being like, wow, there's a lot of popularity behind this movement. Let's capitalize on that. Let's, like that famous fucking, what was it, a Pepsi ad?
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think it's strange that they're pushing it. I think it's strange that they push it as hard as they might have done in Concord.
And typically, whenever we see these major corporations, whenever they see like a little failure that loses them money, we see a real quick switch in stuff, right? The corporations don't necessarily want to look at the details, but for whatever reason, we have years of just forced diversity, failure after failure, the acolyte, you know, whatever the other, anything else. It's just, you know, obvious signs of forced diversity, right? Lesbian space wizards, right? Just failure. So why are they not looking at this and being like, we need to change what we're doing? They're not. This is one particular thing, and of all of history with these corporations, they always change their mind really quick whenever something fails. They're like, all right, we're not going to look into why this really creative piece of art that had a lot of passion behind it. Maybe it failed because the release timing got fucked. Treasure Planet got screwed over. It's an amazing movie. The releasing of it was terrible, but they made a quick change after that, and let's not go touch that IP ever again. Not saying that they should right now, but no. Whenever it's DEI stuff, there's always 1,000 billion excuses. Oh, you got the coof. What are some of the crazy explanations they give? I think they've mentioned that it was just like, too many people are like the weather's nice, like, and nobody's. What was it? Because it was one of the movies failed, and they said the weather's nice.
Dude, are you gonna sit here and deny that women are being made ugly in games? Like you're chuckling about it, but it's true.
This was a good point for Andy to bring up, and again, what do you keep mentioning it? Bring up examples, dude. Bring up specific examples. Right off the top of my head, Fable. The Fable game that's coming out, Star Wars, the one that just came out. That chick, the model was very attractive. The character model was not. I think they did it to Mary Jane and Spider-Man. Like, that's all this year too, right? Like the 3 AAA games, and there's a lot more of that where it's just they're taking the character models and like it. Definitely feel like they're making them ugly on purpose, right? Like, there's not that many all these people that don't know how to draw, like, do women. So it's like, why is this happening? Oh, it's a Dragon Age. Oh, it's a character creation. Oh my god, dude, Dragon Age. Oh, and come on, you got to bring that up too, man. Like, what? Surgical scars in a medieval fantasy game? What? Come on. Explain that one, Ackman. Explain that one.
I try to cover important shit about video games, and that's fine if people want to cover that shit.
Yeah, and then we get the as situation, which he wasn't talking about the application in that Starfield game, but it's the pronoun thing, which is part of the same thing, which he did. He did come out and talk against as for doing that, very much so. So I don't know if he's maybe had a little change since then, but I don't know. That is where my problem with this whole situation is that he does shout down people that might talk bad about this stuff.
What I've always made fun of and criticized on my channel is bad faith critique of video games and the medium of video games. And people make bad faith arguments on the left, people make bad faith arguments on the right.
It's very interesting about the not liking the bad faith critique when, as mentioned before, when it came to talking to Az to get the full context of his pronouns video, he decided to let the video post. And instead of just postponing it until he could actually talk to Az, what's the excuse? And then also he released it his DMs with Mahler. Mahler's like, yeah, I'm not cool with this. All because he claimed that he had DMs with Az that would have made Az look bad, and Az is like, go for it. And it turns out that the DMs weren't between him and Az, it was between him and Mahler. It's like that wasn't a good look. That was really snakish behavior.
You remember that Overwatch diversity chart that leaked?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, stuff that is tangible. I cover stuff like that. It's not like, oh, this female character doesn't have rockin' double D boobs. Wokeness? Woke? I don't make shit like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I mean, he only talks about it if it's actually tangible. But the thing is, it's like with all the games since Overwatch, it's like, why are we pretending like that chart went away, that they're not still using it? And this is where it's the as part comes in again, right? Where it's just like, if he says like, oh, I don't have any problem if other people are still talking about that, even though it's not tangible evidence, but it's like, do whatever, then why did he not only make fun of Az for such takes, but also make a video with a disingenuous framing of Az? during his Starfield rant. This is some of my closing thoughts on this whole thing, right? And I totally forgot to bring up ESG, forgot that was a thing until I looked up some videos talking about it. And I think it's really important to mention, through a lot of what I've already mentioned, is that ESG is kind of that tool that these big corporations use to kind of control other companies, to get them to use their the political message that they're trying to enforce, right? And we had that, I already played that clip of the BlackRock CEO kind of mentioning exactly how they're going to control behavior. And that's really what we don't like. That's what's happening in video games and all other different types of media that we don't like, we don't want to see. People like the Actman are just in denial that the wokeness is having any real impact in the quality of games. Most likely, this denial comes from not wanting to accept that it's their ideology that is what is the poison. That ideology being that we need more diversity, right? And not just diversity, forced diversity. The key words being forced diversity. I'm not saying diversity is bad, like I said, but DEI being used as that vessel to shove communist, Marxist ideology into the media, that's what's bad. Like I said, forced diversity. Now, looking at this guy, Andy, and his whole performance during this, it comes off as a grifter. Not only that, he went on this guy's channel, Walter, who did cover the debate pretty well. He has some mic problems on his video. Yeah, Walter, W-A-L-T-E-R is the channel name. And in this video, he had an actual debate with Andypants Gaming. And the dude dug an even deeper hole into the shitstorm that he kind of brought upon on himself. He looks really bad in all of this. I assume Actman is going to come out with a video trashing the guy. That should be entertaining. So it looks like this controversy is going to be going on a little bit. But yeah, like through this debate, it just reinforces the idea that this guy just does not know how to handle criticism. And that he is definitely grifting. and yeah, he's also very condescending to the guy's channel, who's running the channel, Walter, and just unjustifiably so, seeing as everything the guy Walter was saying was very good advice, and he just didn't want to take it, probably because he's very soft. Invited the Actman to a stream trying to get a got you, and he failed, and now he's running scared. Thank you for stopping by and watching the video. Typically on this channel, I cover a lot of storytelling stuff, and so yes, this woke stuff gets involved into the storytelling. It's kind of integral in all the mainstream stuff. I do cover a lot of indie stuff, and I have a channel called The Iron Seas. I have a bunch of retarded co-hosts alongside with me, and we have a really fun stream that goes on Tuesdays at 9:30 Eastern. I highly recommend you guys go give that channel a sub and check us out. It's fun. You know, and as always, guys, if you made it this far, I got news for you. You're retarded. But that's okay, because the truth is we're all retarded. It's just a matter of fact if you're one of those losers that's in denial about being retarded. So join me and become an autistic warrior.
Cruising down the highway, never busting loud. On a short bus, we're the kings of the crowd. Come on, enjoy